Hi everyone, welcome. We're still waiting for a couple more people to come in, but in the meantime, it's great to see your names. If you do want to show yourself, you're welcome to do so. You can also practice without showing yourself, and we're just waiting for a couple and we'll get started. Hi everyone. So we're still waiting for a couple people to come in, but in the meantime, my name's Gabby, and you're not here to see me, you're here to see Lindsey because she's going to be going through the yoga. I said you're here to follow along with Lindsey. We're just going to go over some housekeeping tips in the meantime while we wait. So if we could go to the next one. Right now, everyone is muted. If you have a question, feel free to unmute yourself and ask away. Lindsey's going to be answering questions, but you can also just write it down in the chat and then we can read it out loud for her. Regarding your camera, you can leave it off. I'll have mine off myself because I'll be attempting to do yoga as well. You don't want to see that, but if you want us to see that, then go ahead and turn your camera on. No pressure. It's a challenge by choice. And regarding your chat and questions, like I said, unmute yourself if you have a question, and we'll answer as able. And we're going to be setting up Lindsey in the speaker view. So she will be the feature of your screen. And but we also recommend, if you have your own settings suggested, for you to go to the speaker view. So you'll go to the top right and you'll select speaker view. And then that'll highlight Lindsey, or right now myself. And so we're going to go ahead and introduce Lindsey. Lindsey, thank you again so much for being here today. And I'm going to let Lindsey tell you about herself.
All right, good evening, everybody. It's great to be here. Thank you to Advancement and Alumni Relations for inviting me to be here. And as you can see on the slide, I had more hair and was facing a different direction when we took this shot, but it's still my same living room where I'll be leading you through practice today. Be able to share it with you this evening. So you are welcome to have family members and pets wander through. I will probably have some of that happening myself. I will not be using music tonight, but keep in mind that you can always choose to use music when you practice on your own. It can be a nice way to kind of carve out the space and kind of cue your mind and body. Real quick, we wanted to do a yoga poll to ask folks to weigh in on their level of experience. So if you have the ability to hop up and answer the questions that are queued here. So we just want to kind of know who is in the Zoom room with us. So what's your yoga experience? You know, if you never tried it and you busted out your yoga mat so it still smells nice and sparkly new, do you do yoga every so often because it's hard to find time for it, even, or, you know, or it may be a little daunting, scary. You do it a lot thanks to COVID, or you do it every day and you could do a headstand in your sleep. So if you want to pick one of these, and then we'll let it run for a little bit, and then the folks behind the Zoom will close it and let us know who all's here with us. All right, so we've got, most of you are kind of every so often to weekly, so this is great, and then some dailies, nice. Good to know, and hopefully you'll return to some favorites today and maybe get exposed to a couple of new things. So we'll go ahead and close out the poll on the view, and I don't know if y'all can do that from your administrator role, or if I need to close out my pop-up. Oh, thank you. So to begin, I would like to start in a seated position. As the promo materials indicated, it was going to be helpful for you to have a mat, a blanket, or a towel. And so if you want to sit either on your heels or on your seat for this beginning kind of meditation to get in the zone of yoga this evening. And this is a prayer that goes out to Saint Andre of Holy Cross. It's a prayer for healing. So I'll read this through and then we'll get into moving around. So it begins, Saint Andre, we come to you in prayer for healing. Let our yoga practice tonight bring us comfort and peace. You were no stranger to illness. Plagued by stomach problems, you knew suffering on a daily basis, but you never lost faith in God. Thousands of people have sought your healing touch as we do today. Pray that we might be restored to health in body, soul, and mind. With Saint Joseph as our loving protector, strengthen our faith and bring us peace that we might accept God's will for us, no matter what the outcome. About 45 to 50 minutes of yoga before we come back together and have some final comments. So just so that you're aware of how that will look. And as a reminder, the other props that we had suggested that you could have with you this evening were also a block or a book, and then a strap or a belt or a robe tie. So just kind of have those handy as you choose. And we will get started in mountain pose. And this one I've heard instructors say actually can be one of the hardest postures in the yoga practice. And that's because if you do it right, it takes a lot of focus and concentration. So I invite you to stand with your legs hip distance, feet hip distance apart, and roll your shoulders back, let your arms then kind of dangle, but keeping your chest open. With the ground and letting all four corners of your feet, so toes to heels, outside blade to inside arch, really connect with the ground. And then we'll just take several deep breaths as we center into being here. You're welcome to close your eyes or leave them open. All right. And so then from here, we've got a good grounding going on. We'll move into tree pose. And you'll hear some kitchen preparation going on in the background. So if you have someone in your house doing that for you, you can know that we're all in community here. So you'll want to lift your first leg. I tend to not cue by direction because as a lefty, I often will flip things. So you can either mirror my image or just do one. We'll start with our first leg, and you can either bring your foot to your inner thigh, to your calf or to the floor with your toes resting. You don't want to necessarily put the foot on the knee, just because that can push and become uncomfortable. So go ahead and get your foot where it needs to be. And one thing that helps me stay in a balanced position here is using the wall or a chair or something that might be nearby, but also pressing your thigh into your sole of your foot and sole of your foot into your inner thigh. And then also having a slight bend in that supporting leg. And then you can leave your arms kind of extended open. You can bring your hands to your chest with your thumbs into your chest bones here, or you can bring your arms up, or you can open them to grow your tree. And so we'll take several breaths here, and as always, finding a spot in front of you, so maybe not watching me, but either straight in your line of sight, above your screen, or down at the floor. And then we'll bring hands back in and foot back in. And then we will reverse. And you might want to roll out your supporting foot that you just worked with, and then bring the opposite foot in. And it may be at the same level you were before, or this leg may be a little bit different. So bring it in, and then same thing, pressing your foot and your thigh together. And then extending your arms, bringing them to your chest and or up. On your vision point to keep you grounded, keeping a slight bend in your supporting leg. And then slowly bring your hands in, your leg in, and then release. All right, for this next one, if you will grab your block or book, and this is more of a if you need it prop, and I've got kind of two directions of mats going so that I can best show things off to you all, so I may move things around a little bit as we go today. So this is triangle pose. So most of you will know what this is, because it sounds like all done yoga. So I tend to not jump out just to protect my knees. So you'll want to kind of bring yourself in, and then widen your legs, bring your arms out, and then the back foot will stay parallel to the back of the mat. And then you will come towards the front foot, kind of channeling your Walk Like an Egyptian video with angles, if anyone's of that age. And then you will slowly rotate your torso so that your hand can rest either on that front shin, or if you want to have your block handy, you can rest your hand on your block of any level. And then your extended arm will have your hand with your fingers wide and really extending up and out through those fingers. And I'm finding that my neck is getting a little twinged, so I am choosing to look more down at the ground. The other thing that you may notice is that your shoulders are kind of swishing down towards the ground. Really try to open up your heart center, so that if you were to bring the wall behind you and in front of you together, you would be parallel to those walls and make a nice sandwich. So we'll take a couple of more breaths here. And then slowly come up to center, and then reverse your feet. So the back becomes the front. And if you use the block, bend your knees a little bit to move it to where you need it to be. And then same thing, extend out through your fingertips really strongly as you ground through your feet. Come towards your front foot and then lower. And If you happen to have your camera on, as Gabby mentioned, you can kind of check your alignment with your household items. So my bookcase is really handy for me right now in that regard. One more breath in and out. And then you'll come up and keep your feet spread out, your legs open, but get your feet to be pointing forward. And we will go into the warrior, warrior 2 and warrior 1. So for this first warrior 2, we'll go back to where we started in triangle. And so your front foot is facing the front of the mat, back is parallel, and then you will slowly go into a lunge. Toe your foot forward a little bit. And as you have your arms extended, you want to look out over the middle finger of this hand. And you also want to look down at your lunge leg. Make sure that your knee isn't coming in towards the arch. You want your knee to go out towards your pinky toe so that you can see your big toe. And then look out towards that front hand. Not forgetting about this back hand. Letting both arms be strong. And think about when you inhale, lifting up out of your head and down through your tailbone. And then as you exhale, going into the lunge a little bit more deep. So we'll take a couple more breaths here. And then come up to center, lower your arms. It comes back, vice versa. And we'll bring our arms back up, extending again, really energetically out through our fingers. And then we will lunge on that opposite leg. And same reminders about how you are holding the shape. Really extend out through your fingers. And as you're lunging, letting your knee fall more towards your pinky toe so that you can see your big toe. Inhaling up and down the spine and exhaling further into the lunge. And then we'll come back to center. And we'll go ahead and keep our feet wide. You always have the option to come back and reopen, but for our different postures, I'm staying open in between. But you're always welcome to come back and forth. So our next posture will be warrior 1. So this is where you face the direction that you're going, if that makes sense. So you'll flip your feet again so that we're alternating back and forth on sides. So your front foot will be headed this direction. Your back foot can either be kind of parallel to the front foot or at a mostly 45-degree angle. And then with this warrior 1, you come into a bit of a lunge and then you will extend your arms up. And same idea, you want your knee to be going more towards your pinky toe, and then extending up through the head, down through the tailbone. You may find that you need to tuck your hips down a little bit. And exhaling with the lunge. And so when you exhale, probably finding that you need to drop your shoulders a little bit so that they're not crunching up next to your ears. And one more inhale and exhale. So then we'll flip again and bring your front to back, back to front. And again, that rear foot will be about probably at a 45-degree, maybe 38-degree versus parallel to the front or perpendicular. And then again, you'll come into a lunge on that leg, paying attention to your knee going towards the pinky toe, and then extend your arms up to the sky. And as you inhale, really growing out of the crown of your head and down through your tailbone, and then you exhale, sinking into that lunge a little bit more. You can also, if your balance is good, look up at your hands if you so choose. One more inhale and exhale, and then we'll come back to center. So now we will give our legs a little bit of a break and bring them in toward one another, and we'll go into eagle. So this one is nice because your leg and arm are doing the same thing on both sides. So you'll start out by extending one leg and one arm, and you will then lay that leg and arm on top of the opposite leg and arm. So I'll do the leg first. You'll kind of wrap or nestle that leg next to or behind the supporting leg. And then with your arms, you will rest that same arm on top of the other in the elbow pit, I call it. And then you will ideally have your elbows kind of parallel with your chin and your hands somewhere around your forehead. And what this will hopefully do is give you a nice stretch in between your shoulder blades and good balance challenge, as well as if you sit. So we'll take a couple more breaths here. And then release. And then we'll reverse. So the other leg and arm will be the ones on top. And so you'll wrap or rest that top leg and rest that top arm. And then slowly sink a little bit more into your seated position, standing seat. And one more inhale and exhale. All right, so now we will get to always nice. I like being closer to the ground. So this next one is one that many of you will know from your previous yoga practice. We're going to come into down dog. And I think for most of us, it's beneficial to start in tabletop. So you just want to come on your hands and knees with your arms coming down below your shoulders and your legs coming down below your hips. And then curl your toes under. And then let your tailbone head towards the sky. And you may, if you haven't done down dog in a while, you may want to walk your dog. As they say, pedal your feet back and forth. And really connect all of your hand to the ground. So feeling the ground through your fingers and palms. And between your hands and your feet. So you're not overly sinking into your shoulders or hands or pushing back too much into your feet and legs. One more inhale. and exhale, and then come back into tabletop for a moment. And then we will go into what is called puppy pose. And so you will come down onto your forearms, and you can either interlace your fingers or have them flat on the mat. And then your lower half will come into down dog, but your arms are down on the mat, your forearms. Bit of a different stretch in your legs. I know the backs of my legs are feeling a little bit more of a stretch. And it also requires some strength in your shoulders and arms a little bit differently. Two more breaths. And then come back into tabletop for a moment, and then we will come onto our backs. And yeah, y'all should be able to see. Yes. Okay. So from here we'll go into backs, and then you again can either interlace your fingers underneath, or you can kind of make a J or an L with your hands, and I'll tell you what to do from there. So you'll come onto your back and kind of get your heels closer to your backside, and then you can either grasp towards or cup your heels and push and lift. So it's an equal lifting of the hips up and pushing from your glutes up. And then you can stay connected to your heels, or if you want to interlace your fingers underneath your tailbone and walk your shoulder blades toward each other, that can provide some extra support. And again, you're thinking about lifting up through your hips, as well as using your glutes to support you upwards. One section of your neck or back. Two more breaths. And then slowly lower. And let your shoulders come out, stay on your back. And I am going to demonstrate this from this position, and then I'll rotate a little bit to my wall situation. So this is going to be resolved abs supine twist. And so you want to, as I said, you're still on your back, and you can either do goalpost arms or cactus arms onto the floor, or if you have space to extend out, whatever works with your space. And then you want to drop your legs to one side. Your knees and feet will stay connected. If there's any gap or something that's uncomfortable between your legs or under your knees, grab your blanket or towel, just kind of wedge it in there. And then look the opposite direction from your knees. So you want your face to face the opposite, look the opposite direction that your knees are going. And also, if you can, adjust your spine so that your shoulder blades are both as close to the ground as possible. Center, and you all can stay where you are. I'm going to rotate slightly so I don't hit the wall. And then you'll drop your legs to the opposite direction from where you just were. So coming to center, dropping them the opposite direction, and then looking away from your knees so that you get a good twist on the other side. And again, adjusting your spine so that those shoulder blades are as close to the floor as possible. And one more inhale and exhale. And then come to center. You stay on your back and kind of give yourself a nice squeeze. Your strap, which hopefully is nearby, and we'll stay on our back. And this will be, I think, the last one before final relaxation that we're on our back proper. So you want to have your belt or strap looped. If it's not, just go ahead and loop it up real quick or tie it at the ends together. And then what you will do from your reclined position is extend one leg out onto the floor, making sure that that leg is active. So you don't have to hard flex your foot, but you also don't want to point it down. You want it to be fairly active. And then on the opposite leg, you will wrap your strap around the ball of your foot and then grab either end of your strap, and then you will both lighten kind of a balance resistance. So while you're pushing up through the ball of your foot, you're also gently pulling on the strap to get your foot to come a little bit more over your face and get a little bit better view of your big toe. While at the same time, your grounded leg is staying active, and think about rolling that inner thigh towards the other leg as a way to keep it active. And you can, on inhales, think about extending up and pushing into that strap with the ball of your foot, and on exhale, slowly pull the straps towards you. We'll do 3 more breaths. We'll reverse. Might want to bounce your legs slightly before you move into the other one. So you'll gather the foot and the strap on the other side, extend your resting leg grounded in onto the floor, and then inhale the ball of that foot up towards the strap and the ceiling, sky, and then exhale as you gently pull on the strap to bring your big toe over the view of your face. We'll do 3 more breaths that way. And then let go of your strap, and again, roll into a tuck, hug your knee. Maybe get some pops in there. You can gently roll back and forth on your low back to massage that a little bit, and then come up to seated. So from here, we will go into staff pose. And you can choose to use your strap if you wish to get some resistance, or you can come into a more pure staff pose. So from here, you want to, again, not hyper extend or overly flex your feet, but you want them to be active. You want to think about rolling the balls of your feet and the big toes away from you, and your pinky toes and the outer blades of your feet towards you. And then in terms of allowing yourself to be upright with a good energized spine, you can put your hands next to you and slightly push up for me. And that allows you to have a good energized spine. And so kind of like mountain pose, this looks easy, but if you do it really correctly, it can take a lot of focus and concentration. So we'll take several breaths here. All right. So then from here, we'll go into seated bound angle pose. So you'll want to get your belt or strap again, and you'll want to come into what is often called butterfly position. So the soles of your feet together. Don't feel like you have to get your legs wrenched all the way in. That's not the goal. So you want to take your big looped have it around your waist. And then from there, you want to take the strap and bring it around the bottom outer blade of your feet that is connected to the earth. And then you can kind of wiggle your strap down. And then if you want to tighten it, you can. That may or may not bring your feet in, but what it does is it allows you to rest into this position a little bit more. This is a common practice in a type of yoga called restorative yoga, where you use props to allow your body to just really settle into the posture. So that's what we're doing here. And again, you can choose to use your hands as a support as you wish, but that sometimes works against what the strap is trying to do. So for myself, I will just rest my hands on my knee joints, knee pits, as it were. And all right. So then unbind yourself, however you can do so easily. And from here, we are going to go into plank and then lunge. So what I would like to invite you to do, if you feel that you might need it for lunge, is get your block handy nearby. And then we'll come into tabletop to start. And then to come into plank, you will want to extend your hands a little bit further ahead, and then lift your knees up off of the mat. And keep in mind that with plank, you also don't want to sink, because that can be not so good on your low back. And so really thinking about equal resistance, equal support through your hands and your feet, and think about extending from your strong core up your spine, out the top of your head, and then down your spine, through your tailbone, through your legs, through your feet. We'll take 3 more breaths here. All right, so then you can take a brief respite in tabletop, and then we'll bring one foot forward into the lunge and raise that back leg. With lunge, some of our geometries allow us to get our hands closer to the ground, but if not, you can put the block on the outside or inside of your foot to help you with getting into the lunge. And as you are in this lunge, just like when we were in triangle and warrior, you really want to think about on the inhale, extending out through the top of your head and back through your tailbone and your back leg. And then with your exhale, you can sink your hips a little bit deeper into the lunge. So we'll take several breaths here. And then slowly lower that extended leg. And then bring your lunge leg back. Take a brief breath in tabletop and then reverse. So bring the other foot forward. Extend the other leg. The block to rest into. Use that. And with your inhale, extend out through the top of your head and out through your tailbone and your rear leg. And with exhale, sink into that lunge a little bit more. And we'll take several breaths from here. And then slowly lower that extended leg in onto your knee, and then we'll come into tabletop, and we'll do a series of cat-cow. This one is probably well known to many of us, and so what I'd like to do is do one longer hold for each of these, and then we'll do several in rotation. So we'll start out with cat. And maybe a little bit different, but just drop your head loose and down, and think about somebody coming with that yoga strap and kind of pulling you up around your midsection as your cat back comes up. And then you'll come down, belly dropping down to the earth into cow. And again, taking several breaths remaining here, and really feeling the stretch along the front of your body, especially probably in your lower core. And looking up towards the sky or ceiling. And then we'll come into several rotations or alternating with these that you're probably more familiar with. And you can inhale cat and exhale cow or reverse, whatever feels best for you. All right, so we'll stay in tabletop. I'm going to turn to face you just so you can hopefully see things a little bit better. And I won't run into my wall. So from this stance in tabletop, you want to raise one arm up to the sky, and then you will drop your hand with your palm facing up and the top facing the ground. It's called thread the needle. And you'll push that hand under the opposite armpit, and then you can either stay level on the ground with that other hand. You can raise that hand up. I'm raising a little bit so y'all can see. And then, or you can wrap it around your waist. So we'll take several breaths here. And the stretch, you should be feeling it ideally across your shoulders, and in that, especially in that shoulder that's on the ground. So take several breaths here. And then bring that top arm back around to push yourself up. And then just bring that same arm up that was being stretched on the ground up a little bit to give it a little shake out, and then bring it back down. And then we'll do the reverse. So you'll raise the opposite arm, stretch it up really nicely towards the sky, and then bringing it under the other armpit so that your palm ends up facing up, knuckles to the ground. And then you can extend that top arm up, bring it around your waist, or leave it down on the ground. One more inhale and exhale before you come back to tabletop. And then from there, if you want to grab your yoga blanket or towel, if you have one, I like to use it just because my knees and ankles get tender. In what is called thunderbolt pose. So you're just making sure that your backside or your sit bones are connecting with your heels nicely. And then I think sometimes we can tend to lean forward in this. So just really noticing where you need to be for your spine to be as energized and alert as possible. And then much like staff pose in seated and mountain pose in standing, this one, Thunderbolt, can feel like you're not doing a whole lot, but if you really concentrate on your shoulders being relaxed and active and your spine being energized and connecting with your sit bones, it's actually not easy. And then from here, we'll go into a seated side twist. So we're going to stay starting in Thunderbolt. And you'll just want to scoot back a little bit so that y'all can see me better. So you'll stay in Thunderbolt, and then you just gently lift and drop that one hip to the side. So you've got one hip connected to the ground, the other hip is off the ground or connected to that other heel. And then we'll do a twist in both directions from here. So to start, we'll twist toward that hip that is on the ground. And then staying on that same hip, we'll twist the other direction. And so you can just take both hands and kind of grab that other ankle, leg, thigh, just twist in the other direction. And again, thinking about lifting up out of your head on the inhale, and on the exhale, twist a little bit more. And then we'll reverse. So come back to Thunderbolt, kind of get your centered bearings, and then drop that other hip to the ground. And then we will twist toward the rounded hip side first. And then keep your legs where they are, but reverse your twist. So hug or rest on the other leg with both hands. All right. We have a few minutes left. So I'm going to give you a challenge pose that we won't hold for very long, but it's, I think, a really fun one. And especially if you have family members who say they can't do yoga, you do this one up on the wall. So it's super handy. So this one is called Half Moon, but I always do it on the wall because free form is too hard for me. And so with this one, you start out in a lunge, and so you'll kind of come into a lunge, you'll rest the leg up, and you also can get help from a family member. So if you have trouble getting up there, you just say, grab my foot, and then they can help you get up. And the goal is eventually to have as much of your backside and your shoulders against the wall. And then you can extend out through your extended foot, leg foot, and then the raised arm. And for balance, I'll just do it on both sides real fast, and then we'll come into final relaxation. So this is a nice one because you get to use the wall, but it's also kind of fun to make yourself a geometry assignment, trying to figure out your angles. All right, so that's half moon at the wall. So for our final posture or shape, I'll give you a choice for final relaxation. Corpse pose, as many people know it, or you can do legs up the wall. I think most people are familiar with Shavasana, but maybe not as familiar with legs up the wall. So that's the one I will demonstrate. This is yogi's choice. You get to pick which one you do. So if you're doing legs up the wall, take your blanket or towel and just get a little bit more thickness for yourself. And then you'll put it up against the wall so it's along the baseboard area. And then you'll come sitting with one hip or buttock on that blanket and your back to the wall. And then you'll slowly lower onto your side and then swing your legs up the wall so that you are still on that blanket. And then you can use your elbows to walk yourself closer to the wall. The hope and idea is that your sit bones are in connection with the wall. And then you can stay here and extend your arms just out to the side, or in goal pose practice, or extend it out. You also can go into butterfly pose from here and let the blades of your feet come up to the wall and open your legs. Or you can put your feet flat against the wall and bring your knees together and hold them a little bit. And that can give you a nice stretch in that crease of your hips. So that's where I'm going to go. And so we'll just spend a little bit of quiet time here at the end for final relaxation. And as you settle into this less active posture, really let yourself melt into the floor. And when I do final relaxation, I think about really tensing and squinching up all my muscles. And so think about, stay in your relaxation pose. I'm just going to come up so my voice carries better. Think about crunching your toes, curling your fingers into a fist, really squinching your face, even your ears and your jaw and your mouth. So getting your whole body all kind of tensed up, and then slowly releasing different sections of your body. And do it from toe to head, head to toe, most tense to least, or least to most. And I'll invite us to take 10 breaths, and we'll wrap up for our final portion of discussion. And heading out. So 10 breaths, and then we'll come back together. Wherever you are, go ahead and roll to your side, and then slowly push yourself up to seated. And then you want to take one more inhale and exhale, and then open your eyes if they were closed. And at this point, I will say thank you for joining me for yoga practice today, and letting me facilitate you in your yoga practice. And I'll turn it over to the event organizers to help MC the remaining time.
Thank you, Lindsey. Hope everyone is doing great. I got so relaxed that I almost forgot what. Thank you for taking me there. Our next Hilltop Learning Series will be taking place on July 31st. And we're going to be talking about meaning making. So we'll talk about how to care for your mental health during this time. well, not just during this time, but today, and it should be a continuous care. And we hope to see you there. And then for the next slide, we also wanted to share how to connect with the Alumni Association. So Lindsey herself is an alum. I'm also an alum, and we both stay involved. Through our work, have to be on the Hilltop to stay connected to us. So you can stay up to date in social media and follow SU alumni on everything. And you can also reconnect with classmates, mentor students, be involved on campus. We would love to learn more about how you want to be involved. So please reach out to us, and we look forward to seeing you. Oh, actually, but before I go, does anyone have any questions for Lindsey or for ourselves? Sorry, I completely forgot about that.
That's okay.
And I can't see everyone, so I can't see if anyone has questions. So you can either take yourself off of your camera or just write something in the chat.
All right. If there is nothing, I've got a couple of postures that I didn't want to cram in at the end, but if I can just throw in a couple of ideas for folks to take away, Gabby, if there's nothing else.
Definitely.
Okay. So I think child's pose is another one that we are all very familiar with, where you just collapse kind of over your legs from a position like this. And one thing that I really like to do with child is kind of play around with my arm placement. So, either having your arms in front of you, interlaced with your fingers behind your tailbone, but also walking your arms, to one side and then the other. It gets a really nice stretch in on the sides. And then something I've been doing during work, because I'm standing most of the day just to help myself. And so I do 3 stretches in there to avoid swollen ankles, which is great, right? You're trying to be healthy and not sit, and then you get these, anyway. And so just doing a simple forward fold where you kind of do ragdoll like that. Also, I will come to the balls of my feet and keep my legs together and just kind of do some, a certain count of that kind of bouncy stretch. I also found one that's really good where you flip your toes under and you sit on your heels and then you flip your hands this way. And that can be a nice way to give to your legs, whether you're sitting or standing for work, because I think most of us have some sort of hodgepodge workstation going in this pandemic time, and so that can help you just kind of with some realignment. So, all right, well, that's all I got. So if there's no questions in the chat, again, just thank y'all, and I think the next session that's coming up is fantastic. I know Pella is a double alum and is working on her licensure for her LPC right now. So she'll be a great resource to hear from for the next one.
Yeah. Thanks again, Lindsey. And thank you everyone for joining us. We look
Thank
forward
you.
to
I hope we do more of this in the future, more yoga.
Yeah, definitely. And if you have any other suggestions, you'll be getting a survey as well for things that you want to see. If we haven't touched upon them, all ideas are welcome. So please send them our way.
All right. Y'all take care. Bye-bye.